I like this one. That's awesome. This is so nice. Yeah, this is nice. So it's like, my kids are like, I want to go to sleep. They're 45.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
I've seen you driving.
Oh yeah, not supposed to be, but I am.
Well, I won't tell the law. We've never been on the same side.
Ain't the law. Huh? No, not with the medications I'm on.
Isn't it kind of? It's just more for.
I took 5,000 to it. And they got an order for 6,000 now.
Hey, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. Y'all ready to get started?
All right.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea to silence the phone. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you all for coming tonight.
First time. Way more this way.
We have need a motion to approve the agenda as presented. By Craig,
Second.
second by Kelly. All in favor? 7-0. Okay. We have pretty lengthy consent agenda, so if there's any, I don't know if there's anything we need to pull out or talk through. That kind of open for you guys to talk about for a second. Let's grab a motion for that too.
I'd like to abstain for check 52-127.
I guess our approval of the subs is as long as they pass their fingerprinting. Oh, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Amanda, second by Craig. All in favor? 7-0, so that'll put us into reports. We'll start with our superintendent.
Okay, to start with, March is recognition month for school boards across the state of Missouri. So we certainly would like to thank our board members for their commitment, not only to the community, but to our students. You all play a vital leadership role in the education of our students with the decisions you make, and I know it's a thankless and unpaid position. So we certainly appreciate all the many countless hours that you put into not only making these decisions at meetings, but beforehand when you're trying to gather all the details and all the information you need prior to making your decisions. And sometimes those decisions are not easy. So we certainly appreciate everything you do, and I think CTA maybe is providing your meal as a token of their appreciation as well this month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
On my report, we had our bus inspection and all of our buses passed inspection on February the 17th. January was our month for reporting free and reduced lunch, and our free and reduced lunch count is 232 for this year. As you know, as part of our MSIP compliance, we were tasked with doing a Get the Lead Out study. We found some sinks in classrooms and restrooms that have unacceptable levels, so the cure for that is to install on-site at-point filters, which we have done. February is also a month we're required to take bus ridership, and that is a piece that counts toward our transportation reimbursement. Right now, we are at a 29% reduction of our allotment from the state. Everyone is at least 25%, some or more. That's my report.
Can you maybe explain that reduction piece of that? I don't know if I understood that.
If your routes run at 104% efficiency, you are eligible to receive 75%
Gotcha.
of your transportation entitlement. So ours is being reduced, the 75% is being reduced by 21%.
All right, any questions here? We'll move on to our building administrators. Start with Mr. Culpepper.
Alright. Like Ted Mandy said, did a great job during the boys and girls basketball tournaments for the district tournaments. They did a great job keeping up with all the extra cleaning and everything that goes along with hosting two district tournaments. Both went extremely well. Academic side of things, a couple updates on a few things. We had Desi in here last week and gave our 8th graders the national assessment test, which is part of the nation's report card. They were very pleased with our 8th grade students, so they did an excellent job. We provided technical support where other schools maybe did not, and they were also very excited about the way our kids acted during it. So I was very, very proud of our 8th graders. iReady Math, update on that. They did some continued progress monitoring. All of our students in math continue to look like they have quite a bit of growth. This is a continued success from last year's math scores. Each grade level right now shows about or above 50% advanced or proficient on the testing data. iReady Reading has not completed their progress monitoring yet. They're doing that this week. Middle of the year testing results were very positive. Middle of the year, they were over 40% showing advanced and proficient on the grade levels. And several students in math or in reading also exceeded the expected growth that they use to kind of figure out where they think a kid can go from the start of the year to the end of the year. We had several kids that grew past where they thought they could make it. So that was pretty exciting. Updates in athletics. We had 5 wrestlers qualify for state. Cooper Doss, Paxton Pyle, Evan Ragsdale, Lee Folks, and Kendall Ragsdale. Evan Ragsdale placed 4th overall in his weight class. So that was pretty exciting for Evan. Boys basketball lost in the district semifinals to New Franklin, who ended up winning the district championship by over 20 points. Our boys finished the season winning 6 out of 10, 17 and 10 overall. 5-win improvement from last season. Girls basketball won districts, sectionals, and quarterfinals, and they'll be at the Final Four Wednesday night, 8 o'clock versus Marionville. And then if they win, they'll play for the state championship on Thursday at 8 or 3rd place at 2 o'clock. Professional development schedule there. And then attendance, we had a little bit of a bounce back in attendance in the month of February. Bounced back up to about averaging of 94% between middle school and high school. It just kind of ebbs and flows during the winter of month to month whenever you hit those sickness times. Right now, I think we're kind of in one of those higher sickness areas right now. We have quite a bit of strep going on in our school. Some of the kids start with flu, end up with strep, and then some of them are even ending with double pneumonia. So we just got a little bit of sickness going through the school. So hopefully we can get through that here in the next couple of weeks, get to some more weather, be good to go for the rest of the semester. Q3 grades. All the teachers have to have those finalized tomorrow, so they're not finalized yet, but I still ran the report today. And very similar to what we see in the third quarter, you have a little bit of a downward trend after the first semester. Kids kind of relax when they come back from Christmas break just a little bit. Sometimes it's because of sickness, sometimes it's because of snow, variables depending on the year. But overall, they look very on par with where they should be. And then fourth quarter, usually kids rebounded. We finished the semester strong like we did first semester. And then we have the pictures of the month down there at the bottom with Evan Ragsdale getting the pin, and then some of our kids from Honor Roll, and then just some other random pictures. I would like to comment that Mr. Maddox this year brought back the pep band. We played 3 games this year, and that was a goal of ours that we started last year, was to bring the pep band back to home games. Maybe not on an every day or every game basis because there are so many home games, but bringing them back at least, half a dozen times. That's kind of the goal for next year, is try to have the pep band there about 6 games next year. So very pleased with him bringing those kids in. I thought they did a great job, and I thought the community support, having the pep band there was really good feedback. So that's all for me.
Yeah, that pep down, that made a big, I like that. That was pretty cool. Difference in the atmosphere for sure. Any questions for Mr. Culpepper? Okay, so we'll move,
March and April are going to be busy. We have a glow dance coming up that PTO will host. We didn't get as many kids last year as we hoped, so we're moving it till 2 o'clock on the day before spring break, so everybody gets to attend. So we'll do that during the school day on the 27th. Everybody's getting ready for the student showcase this week. We will also have professional development that day that Roxanne will put on for MAP testing, so everyone will be trained and ready to go for the end of the year. Miss Simon and Miss Crane will have the Title I family night going in the cafeteria that evening. They're having a game night, so families get to stop by, have a snack, play games, and there'll be some literacy activities and to go along with that. We posted today our April 20th kindergarten screening. I think we had 5 or 6 signed up before we left at the end of the day, and we didn't post it till noon. So it seems like we already have a good turnout. We finished our summative evaluations for all the teachers and got those taken care of, got to meet one-on-one, have conversations about growth opportunities, things that they're interested in, professional development over the summer. We also have Donuts with Dad on Wednesday morning, and the Central 8 Knowledge Bowl at Lincoln University. We have groups from 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade that will be representing there to compete with the other Central 8 schools. And MAP testing, I guess, is not until April, but we are busy from here on out, it feels like.
glow dance is always cool.
Yeah, it is fun.
Oh, probably wants to do it.
Hey, we're always looking for one. You can have my spot.
Pretty sure they would not think the music is cool. Okay, very good. So we have the athletics director report here. Does anyone have any questions about that? I know Jason's already kind of hit a little bit on everything's things to talk about with DECA performances. We'll move over to Dr. Haynes.
So my report's kind of reflecting just February's recap. I know we haven't had a lot of days after Christmas break. Those numbers are still kind of sitting where they were last month, but we are going to start to see a lot more increase in requests coming through. This is that season where they've tried a lot of interventions. Now we've got district requests coming through to looking at like, hey, we've done everything we can. We've exhausted all these things. We might need to look and evaluate for special education. This is when I like to see district referrals come through, not just something within the first few weeks of school, but we've given it a lot of resources and support, and now we're actually investigating where kids are struggling and what we need to look at. So we'll start to have, surprisingly, we haven't had too many this year. We'll have more meetings coming up regarding new evaluations, new requests, some new 504 things coming through. So those are just highlights on what we've had so far for February. We are still in the thick of all the tiered monitoring. We've got corrective action for foster care, and I'm waiting on one more item from Children's Division to solidify that corrective action. The McKinney-Vento homeless one is done, parents as teachers is done, and we've got our 2 new educators finishing up their training. They've got a couple of final Missouri trainings we need to do before they can really just get going and seeing parents. And hopefully after our early childhood screening and kindergarten roundup, we'll get a new family roster and see that parents as teacher program just explode. Special education tiered monitoring is one that I am anxiously waiting for. I thought it would be here by now come March, but it's probably going to come towards the end of March where they'll ask for specific files and information of those files to turn in. That one will be a little bit more in depth with what we have to do as part of actionable steps. Ms. Whitworth and I just came back from our Mo Case Law Conference and Leadership Symposium. That was last week. It was 2.5 days of intense legal information, a lot of good feedback on referrals and evaluations and things that we can do within a district. Hopefully we can give some of those teachers some input on March 12th with parent-teacher conferences coming up and some professional development. And then the kindergarten roundup, like Ms. Pettigrew mentioned, is going to happen in April. And so if she needs any assistance, kind of like our early childhood screening, we'll borrow another kit from California, do something similar and assist if needed. And then we're going to be meeting with special education staff, not only to go over what we learned at that Mo Case legal conference, but to also plan and program different caseloads, how we want to like break apart our numbers to make sure that we're using everybody to the fullest extent. Logistically speaking too, if we need to shift into different locations along the building, incorporating the building principles on what that looks like will probably be when we have those conversations. End of March into the beginning of April. And then my highlight, again, I'm going to throw it out there, Special Olympics is doing great things. This is their time of year, their season. March 18th is their upcoming kickball tournament at Russellville. And the band is going to be attending to provide fan support and create that energetic fan in the stands atmosphere. So hopefully we can get just as much celebration and excitement for them as all the other sports going on. Kickball is probably one of my favorite ones just because you don't typically see it in your normal school sports. So it can really get out there and get exciting. So hopefully everybody can go out and see him on March 18th.
Okay, that will get us through reports into old business. So I'm going to start, I think, with the Game 1 contract. Jason, I don't know, do you want to talk about that? Or
Jason said he would explain.
Yeah, I talked to him and basically said it's just generic contract. He said it's gonna be just like it is now. If we want to take the contract, we can. Kind of the same thing we talked about. Booster Club doesn't have to use anyone, but if they choose to use them, then that counts towards money spent by the school in our overall contract. So that's more additional money as you get up to the 20,000 spent or the 21, whatever the exact number was to get the extra kickbacks. If we don't spend 60, last 3 years we've averaged around 24. There's no paying any difference. As we've done in the last several years, if you have something that you don't buy from them, it's not a big deal. There's situations that pop up all the time where we have to buy from somebody else, whether it's Pummels or BSN or anybody else. It's more like a gentleman's agreement for the benefit of both parties. If you use them, you benefit from them, and as long as you do, then you get the free apparel for your coaches. If you don't use them, you don't get that. If you don't, then you just go back to paying for your own out of fundraising or whatever the case is. It's just a agreement to use them when possible, but it's just a generic contract, so it's one that they use for all their schools. Really, the only thing that specializes is the front page that says Tipton instead of saying Eugene or saying Jeff City or Capital City. It's just the front page is the only thing that's really different. There's not much he could change there whenever he went to his big boss, so not much I can.
they just use a boilerplate contract.
Yeah.
And change the name of the school.
reached out to the Shannon today, just to double check a few things. So we get currently $5,000 a year in rebates. But he couldn't tell me how those aren't just applied to our account. He said we're spending them, but he couldn't tell me how we're spending them.
Coaches apparel every year, July 1. They charge you MSRP price. So like, normally if you buy a jacket from game 1 right now, let's say you're ordering warm-ups for a basketball team, you get automatic, I think it's like 30-something% off MSRP price. And they might do a little bit better just depending on the deal. Whenever you get the kickbacks for apparel, it's whatever the MSRP price is. So you might pay $85 a jacket for something that you normally pay $50. It's just monopoly money to spend on apparel. You can't spend it on uniforms or anything like that. It's really just apparel that you can buy for coaches. Usually comes in around August.
I think.
You might have seen like Bo wear a couple last year whenever he was junior high coach. He had a few different ones that he had as junior high coach. All the coaches have different ones that they wear. Maddox had that Under Armour one on the other day whenever he was at the concession stand during the district tournament.
So could we turn this like into using it for other things? I was under the impression whatever we wanted, we just had to buy it for MSRP.
For apparel, yeah. You can't like go buy a sled or something like that. It's for apparel. You can't go buy equipment or uniforms with it.
Everyone still have a copy of the contract, I guess it would be in the last report.
So is every coach on our coaching list getting the same thing?
Everybody that uses Game 1 gets it, yeah.
What do you mean by everyone uses it?
If you use Game 1, you get Game 1 apparel because you're contributing to the kickback. But typically your administrators get a couple too because they're going to supervised games. Like Bridget, Sarah, and Ashley have some too. So when they go to supervised games, they're wearing Cardinal jackets. So they're identifiable.
I think what we have to have here is a motion to approve the contract. And that is it would be the February 11th board meeting.
I think it'd be best on paper to only agree to not double what we've been spending.
Can you explain that?
What's this $60,000?
In order to get the extra discount. Is that the way I'm understanding it?
I think you get automatic 25 in there. I think it says to start the year, and then once you get to 22, maybe they kick in another 1250, and then they have
1250 with 25,000 spent, 2,500 at 50,000.
yeah. So every time you go up money, you get more kickbacks if you get there, which be difficult.
But let's say year 1, 5,000 promo signing bonus. Year 1 through 5 is a 500 annual promo bonus. And year 2 through 5, an annual promo rebate. That's the rebate. Sorry, I wasn't online. The annual promo rebate on purchases 1250 at 25,000.
who isn't using Game
I mean, it's split. Some schools use BSN, some schools use Game One.
No, I meant like of our sports.
Coach Duke didn't use them all the time, but he also has different equipment. Like they don't sell everything. Like they sell, they don't have Rydell, so it's a little bit different. But pretty much across the board, everybody else uses them. Like if you've looked at your emails and you've seen your team stores that came across, every one of those are Game One because they have the ability to print on Under Armour. Baseball, softball came out last week.
I just got him to do a golf one today, so that'll be sent out to the boys next week.
Our team stores to them, and you can set it up however you want. Like usually they overprice it by $1 or $2, and then they'll just mail you the check. I think we got a check maybe a couple weeks ago, Amy, for our team store for like $400 or something. We made a few bucks on each item, so then anything you make on that, they'll send it directly to your program that sold the items to. Cheer, there's another one that doesn't because they have to go through I can't remember what the name is. Varsity, and they're kind of like their own entity.
Well, I know, I was looking through the bills of what we paid. Some of the pads for the goalpost were purchased through them. Other things, athletic wrap, which is used, I assume, by all sports and activities. There was insurance. I just wanted to make sure it was clean split because the guy refused to talk to me about how we used our rebate money. It's none of my damn business. So that's why I'm asking. At the end of the day, it's taxpayer money that's paying for all this stuff. So distinguishing between who's using Game One would be the entire team. So really distinguishing who gets what needs to be a fair split. Everybody gets the same thing. Nobody gets anything, which we can use it. For other stuff that we might need. And they sell t-shirts.
I think you look across any sort of sporting event, you see coaches that's kind of the standard these days. Kind of look the same. Now some don't, obviously. We have some that go wear the suits and kind of go classic type of approach to that. I think that's the standard in districts.
I just think it's very weird that a sales rep would say, hey, here's what you bought this year. Here's what you got with your rebate money. We need some sort of accounting moving forward of the rebate money. It's split out across the board. In my opinion, it's all coming from tax dollars.
Well, I think that if we wanted to get that information, but I'm not sure that, like, if I called and asked for it, they'd give it to me either. Probably go through the superintendent. Try to get that for the whole board. Probably be the appropriate way to do that, I imagine.
Yeah, usually when you open up auction Game One, it's got like a sheet that says everything you got. Whether it's 12 pair of pants, 8 tops, whatever it is, it's usually got an itemized list of everything that's on there.
Any other questions? What do we do with this? We would need a motion to approve the contract.
Make a motion to approve the contract.
I just want to make sure that we're agreeing to a contract that's double what we spent. Have them rewrite it for $30,000.
Yeah, did they mention that? The contract's worded, it says to remain in good standing, and in good standing basically means that they can terminate the contract if they want.
Yeah.
And we can terminate the contract.
Correct.
And that seems like the penalty. But I just don't know why they would not reduce it either. It's just
Standard number was.
Well, his exact words to me were, if Coach Duke doesn't get on board, I'd hate for the school to get in a bad spot. I said, I thought we couldn't be. So that's where I'm concerned. Bring the 60 grand over 30. Spent over 30 this year. I think we're trending that way.
I don't care on the aspect of it besides legality, because we signed the contract, 60 grand, can we get, besides just losing the contract? And, if we're gonna stay in a situation where Coach Duke wants to go buy it, that other one Jason said, railroad or whatever, I don't think he should have to be held to it just because they might not have the right piece of the puzzle for Coach Duke. I want to handcuff him to something that he doesn't think is just because we want to try to meet us. My thoughts.
Yeah, I think I was reading this as we're not going to meet the 60. And then
That's why you're incentivized to spend more than 25.
would it make the board better for us to run that through the council? Right now, there's no action. We have one motion. I don't even have a second to vote on it. So if someone wants a second to vote on it, we can either vote it down or vote it forward. I need a second in order to do that.
I'll second it.
Okay. So we got a motion to approve the contract and second by Kelly. All in favor? So it fails at 3. Okay. Moving on, we'll look at the, oops. Back to the right one. Yeah, all right. So the preschool, old business and preschool.
You need that up. We're back. Hey, we're back to talk about preschool again. We sent out enrollment packets, not like if there's an invitation to continue discussing it. Out of the 36 that we sent out, we received 28 of them back. And then some of the ones that we didn't receive back are current students that are enrolled at SLC, Special Learning Center. So we already had their information and what would happen. So very good return rate. We've looked at 3 different options and kind of for your consideration. The first option would be early childhood special education classroom only in that same space. What that would look like after we've visited with SE Finance and also talked to the Office of Special Education would be full reimbursement, but with our numbers, we would have to have 10 special ed students in there with no more than 10 regular ed students as peer models. Whenever Sarah and I talked about it, we are not 100% positive that we would have the 10 special ed students. For 100% reimbursement for 1 teacher, 1 para, would have to be the 10 special ed students. If you had 8 students, you'd get 80% reimbursement for those 2 salaries.
One thing to consider with that is if you pulled every single student from SLC, you technically would have a number. But then we have to look at individual basis, like, does does this particular student need to remain at SLC? So it's more of a, we could pull them all back, make the number work, and have 100% reimbursable at this point. But at the same time, we have to look at the needs of all of our kids. So just know that it is 100% reimbursable if you hit that magic number of 10 special education students. Now, that's stating from this point right now. From our early childhood screening, there's going to be some referrals that get started. There's kids that could move in. That number could fluctuate. And that was one of my questions to the Office of Special Education and their finance expenditure guide is what happens if that number drops or increases? What does that look like? And she said it goes off of your July 1 count. So if they start our program in August and we have 10, then that's our number for the year. It's not that if it drops below that, then we're not reimbursed, or if it goes above it. It's just, that's what it is as you start your program. And then every year it looks different depending on how many you have. That's if you do an ECSC room.
At this point, there is also a $10,000 grant for this classroom only. We would have to spend it in the 26-27 school year to be reimbursed in the 27-28 school year. That would cover curriculum, materials, furniture. It will not cover things that we specifically asked for, playground equipment, a fence if we needed to have that in that area as well. But those would be reimbursed in that next school year. So you're gonna have to have that upfront cost, but it is reimbursable.
The noted that if there is a need for like a one-to-one para, that is part of the reimburse. So right now it's 10 special education students up to 10 peer models, so a maximum of 20. So you get one teacher, one para. But if a student has a one-to-one marked in their IEP, that also falls under that reimbursable rate.
Only the special ed classroom, early childhood special ed classroom. The second option that we looked at would be a full-blown preschool where you have that early childhood special education classroom and also another classroom based off the students that we screened at our early childhood screening. This would be looking at one classroom teacher for both rooms and one para for both classrooms. The second classroom would be based off of ADA, so that's student need. And then we could also pair that with the Mo QPK grant and or tuition based. I think when we talked the first time and we presented this, every student in there can be a different funding source. It's kind of what category would they fit and how could we claim that money?
We also looked at a couple different districts for what they charge for tuition. It's one of those things where there is a way to set a tuition base that would be comparable or competitive with local, but then not exorbitant to where parents would not want to choose this option.
What you would do is you would set that tuition rate and then go ahead and apply for that Mo QPK grant. If that's not awarded until July, or you already have students that are enrolled in your program, those parents have to enroll the students with the understanding of we'll pay tuition, but it could be free if you receive that grant. You would have to come up with a startup cost for these things. Curriculum, I got a quote for like a 6-year curriculum for this classroom, and it's looking to be about $6,000, but that's over you'd have enough stuff for the next 6 years. You'd also need playground, which you could use for both classrooms, tables, chairs, other furniture to fit in that. And then there's
That one has a little bit more of a moderate risk financially because again, you're doing a lot more upfront and not getting any of that $10,000 reimbursement.
Then your option 3, there's a lot of changes, a lot of things to consider in the district right now. The reason we kind of jumped on this whole bandwagon to begin with is, one, there's a need in the community. I think your whole school benefits from having a preschool. And then there's available space that's kind of already designed to be used there. And I think that's fine if you're not ready for that. But I would hope that if we aren't considering 1, 2, or 2 right now, we stop and say, well, that space hopefully we're not going to move something else in there right now because it is kind of designed with some of the restrooms, the sizes of those that they would be appropriate for preschool age students. Pretty short and sweet, but those are the 3 options that we've kind of explored and looked at. You guys.
When you talked about moderate financial risk and upfront cost, have you guys have ballparks on these?
Yeah, it would be the curriculum, the furniture, the
6,000.
playground. That would just be the curriculum piece. I would say to start up, and you're looking at, I also don't know exactly what's gonna be left in that area once everything has been moved out. I think that's is there gonna be a fence? Is there not gonna be a fence? I'm sure the playground equipment will be gone. Because
have
we'll
no
have to take
idea.
recesses out there.
Are we under contract right now?
It expires June 30th.
But I do know all of those materials were purchased under their name with the grant through DESI, and when I checked up on it, those would be her things to be taken. So it would just be the curriculum, and I mean, I think when we looked at like
Their playground equipment is like 3 individual pieces from like a park. Like it's not a slide or swing set. So like we even talked with PTO potentially could.
the PTO would be willing, like we've done some fundraising, they'd be a part of our school, and to fall into that category, they could purchase some pieces to go in there as well. They're willing to do that.
Which one do you back to?
It's a loaded
But
question.
there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of variables. I am not a huge risk taker, but I also want to be very clear that there are risks with one and not risks.
Either one.
I think there's financial pieces that go into 1 and 2. I think it would be a great piece for our community. I think it would be good for our school, our students. But that's not the only thing that goes into making decisions, and I think the finances play a piece in that. And if this isn't something that we're ready with, we are looking for a special education director. Sarah, she keeps saying we, and I said, oh, you mean me, as we're planning. That would be a piece that would be a part of it, someone to help with that. Financial, but it's really where are we at and what's your all's preference?
The challenge of the next med director is my 2 cents. We have nobody to fill that role, and we're bringing 10 more kids. Now we're gonna serve those kids right now anyway. That's a huge part.
You're potentially looking at an extra 30 students, which doesn't seem like a lot. There is a way that we could move, I think that we have interest within the staff to kind of remove and reconfigure some of their salaries. But it's extra kids and there's extra risk. Think about transportation, meal service, all those pieces that have to get figured out, and how does that work? You know, if we already have 1 less administrator to kind of go around, what does it look like next year?
Thank you guys. I think we've continued to ask for more information. So
It's okay, we'll keep digging, we'll just.
Appreciate.
Anything
guys.
specific you want us
Yeah.
to look into? Do you want us to maybe determine the special ed director part? Do you want us to look more about curriculum or playground? Find out what may or may not be left in that facility?
What do you think is a drop dead date?
I was really hoping tonight was the drop dead date, because it's been just sitting here on like this flux of a decision, and we've been kind of digging, and we've
Right.
got curriculum samples that have come in, and then we started looking through. We've had lots of conversations with DESI. I think you could push it off till April if you really wanted to continue to consider it.
I think your staffing comes to play too.
That's a big piece.
I think
Is
that's the biggest piece.
are we moving staff down there? Or are we keeping staff in our building?
We
So
have
do
to-
you want us to approve one of the options or approve just move forward from after the approval? It's a tough question, I know.
That's where I think all the options are. You have to approve it, but then you also have to figure out how you're gonna staff it. I think there's so many parts. How you're gonna fill it financially, how you're gonna fill it staff wise.
It would be if you were starting a new program anyway.
Correct.
I mean, we're starting a brand new program.
Well, and
Correct.
it's, I mean, like Sarah and Ashley have done a lot of work, but
Staff-wise, I'm not super concerned.
We
It's
have a couple of
financial.
individuals. We've had a classroom para that has went between 2. That same classroom para wouldn't go up to 1st grade. We could potentially put them in the preschool where it's not, you're not hiring anyone additional. We would move them down there. But if I still move someone, I still have to fill classroom positions. I think you could move it off till April. That would be not ideal, because
Yeah,
then we're
but you
still
gotta start
continuing to move things and think about it. I would love to have a preschool. I think it's something that we need to look for in the future, but I'm also understanding of if option 3 is where we're kind of at as a district.
You were sitting on this side of the table, which option would you go with?
I don't know all the information that you have on that side of the table.
Basically, what y'all put up there.
EC.
If you're asking me, I would go with option 1 or two,
Yeah,
preferably two.
that's where I'm at.
What's your question about E ECFC?
ECFC, and the reason I know a little bit is I've got Casey.
Yeah.
In the situation, I'm gonna use Casey for example. He's at SLC now. You know, he will graduate till kindergarten next year. In my opinion, can you, I mean, for the kids we have, like say in Casey's situation, we start them, do you feel we have the 10 to start and maybe give them the chance here? Like you said, if it doesn't work, we can go back to SLC.
Right. Those, and I wouldn't even
have-
say I think again, those are individual conversations and team decisions. But that's where I have to be very clear and open on option one, that if you are looking for a guaranteed 100% reimbursed ECSE, I don't want to promise you that because I have to look
Because
at
we
the
may
needs
only
of
have
those
8 kids and then you're only getting 80% of their salaries covered.
Yes, I have to look at the specific needs of those kids. Again, we can trial
That's
it.
year by year, right?
That is year by year.
It's reevaluated every year.
Every year. And again, and that's kind of where research has been and where we're trending is early intervention is key. And the more kids we can get identified, the more kids we can service. I just need, one of the things we went back and forth on was the therapeutic needs. Can we meet all of those kids? Ideally, I'd like to think we can, and I would hope we can because we want to serve our kids, we want to get our hands on them to prepare them for kindergarten readiness. It's kind of where we struggled at the beginning of this year. But at the same time, I have to do what's in the best interest of those kids. So if it means that, hey, they've got to go back to SLC, and that's part of their programming and their needs, that's what we have to do.
What, remind me, like, why, I know, I obviously didn't put it in place now, we would have to do something now, but what is the benefit of doing it now versus waiting until next year? Considering we don't have this with the position filled,
You mean starting like an ECSC next
well,
year?
option 3, for
If
example.
you waited, the only part that we would be concerned about is if we decided, as soon as we say, we're gonna wait, then next month we decide to do something different with the space, because the space is available now.
Exactly.
It's just gonna be sitting there.
Just don't want the structure. If you are thinking it's a good idea and you want to get your ducks in a row, find a sped director, financially, whatever that means, don't change the structural integrity. Don't take those restrooms out. They're built specifically for preschool if that is your goal to get to use that space.
I feel like, personally, I feel like we don't have all the information we need, not necessarily from you.
Right.
But we're getting ready to talk about money here in about 45 minutes.
Correct. So we
That's
make,
an important consideration.
And we also, I think we have a lot of unknowns. I just worry that this is a lot at once for 1 year going into next year. But I think it's a great idea that we should consider. And I understand the idea of keeping the structure in place to potentially consider that moving forward.
definitely a risk. There is actually no guaranteed, it's not for profit. It is for your community, for your staff, for your needs, for your kids. But there is a financial component to it and a risk to it.
And I think visiting with Dr. Wolf, she's been a huge promoter of it. I think she understands. She started one in Pilot Grove. So she understands the benefit of that, bringing it to our district. But so does Mr. Bestian, as far as he's been in on those conversations and funding. And I think he understands that we have to do it now. That's great. If not, we wait. I think there's also some benefit that he'll continue that same conversation.
I would bet everybody on the board looks at it as a benefit, to just trying to figure out when's the right timing and all those sort of things. Maybe everyone has different opinions than me on that. That's certainly fine.
Option 1, I just want a little more clarification so I can write down and look over my notes later. Option 1, it's got the $10,000 grant that can be used for materials and furniture, but not playground equipment.
Correct.
So starting with that program, we would initially have to put 10,000 up and not.
Up to 10,000. So
Up to-
say you
We
only
don't have to
spend,
spend all of that.
Correct.
You were up to 10,000 could be reimbursed.
And then with option 1, they cover teacher and a para, and if one student needs a one-on-one, they cover that too.
correct.
As long as you have 10 students, because that's based on our numbers. Sarah and I did talk, because she was talking about her early childhood numbers, and the reason we ended up with 10 was because we have 19.
Yes.
And so that's a very high number, and I said, do you think that will continue like next year? So if that number were to go down, then our requirement to fill that classroom would go down.
So if you report your December 10, you have to meet the minimum of 10. If your December 1 count ever drops below 10, then you don't have that minimum 10 requirement. That's why it's every year it's looked at and it's considered off that December 1 count for your July 1 student number. The other thing to keep in mind too is our current ECSE, like special education teacher and the para, are off of local dollars. They're not off of sped reimbursement right now, federal. So like it would be a shift on if we moved a para and a teacher to reimbursable ECSE funds, and then you did option 2 and you hired, you're not spending more money just because you're hiring a new teacher. It's almost a wash because 2 of them are reimbursable where the other 2 cover what's already being spent. No new money on staffing, no bodies
Just for that one piece, but
for option 2.
So if we vote on it tonight and say we vote on option 1, and it doesn't pan out and we say, whoops, we should have went with option 2, do we have that availability next year?
I think that's up to you all. If you don't want to pick a specific option and just say yes to it or no to it, then we can go into more specifics if that's what you do. Or we can wait till April. Or we can wait and say you want to do a special session for it. I mean, the ball's kind of really in your court.
Or we wait until next year. It's all those, it just, what do you guys want to do with all the variables that are kind of on the table right now?
Just don't want that road to become a storage. Even if we're gonna prolong it for a year, we don't want to turn it into the old ag road.
I would think if you're gonna, if you're waiting for people in there, but not change the structure, because right now we've got OTPT and we've got Burl and random places. That could be a home for people versus things, because like I said, we don't want, if you're gonna wait and try and go with it later, you definitely want to use the space but not change it.
I would
So
say
that-
OTP. Really not changing it.
There's like a
Jason,
kitchen
we're
area.
changing bathrooms out again. You were implementing on that.
I think it's also a conversation for maybe the fall of next year. I know we started this conversation really early and kind of started digging. But if you were to push it off for a year, then we start that planning again and say like, what are we committed to? 1 classroom, 2 classrooms, or where are we going?
But do you think since we've kind of straw polled parents are gonna be disappointed in?
I think there will definitely be disappointment. I think if you go with just the first choice, there'll be disappointment because it's only going to serve a small group of people. The only way we would probably make everyone happy is if we looked at all the pieces and did a full-blown preschool, and did the 2 classes. If we did not access the MOQP grant, then I think you're still missing out on some people in the community. So I think you have to look at all the funding sources if you want to meet everyone's needs.
I mean, the number's there this year. It's one of those things where we did 3 and 4 year olds too. So, I mean, hopefully that number is either the same or higher. Having children in this community, but at the same time, down the road, a lot of factors at play. We did have a very big turnout. I do think some of the initial talks was something we need for our staff, for our community. They're kind of scarce when it comes to daycare and support like that. This is not supposed to help that, but also give us the information we needed to prepare them for kindergarten.
I think we have a good staff on hand right now who definitely see the need and find it very important. And they've been constantly asking questions and what would this look like, and just being able to kind of get our students in the building earlier so that kindergarten can run a little bit smoother.
You have a little more control of your environment. Plus you'll have curriculum in place.
I think part of the things we had talked about is like the first semester of pre-K would be like lunch and breakfast in the classroom, and then transition to using the cafeteria the second semester. That's one of the boring things kindergartners didn't know how to do very well, even for specials, like so new to a lot of pros, a lot of cons.
Ladies, on option 2, I didn't catch it, but how many kids were we gonna be able to serve with if we went with option 2?
Probably cap at like 15 to 18. It wouldn't get to 20.
And then your, on your ECSE
So you're looking at potentially 30 some students between the two classrooms if you did both.
So when we're looking up to 20 and then
36 at the highest.
36.
So we had 36 things that we mailed out, and 28 came back, not counting our current roster at SLC. So not everybody would get in. That's the other component in these two.
The thing we may have to consider too is restructuring Ashley's caseload because if she takes on a preschool, hey, 20 to 32 extra kids,
Another grade level.
having a very non-traditional 5, 6, 7, 8.
One time we'd ask for a motion for make a decision or some discussion on which route you want to go.
My opinion, the good opportunity we have in front of us. We have the space, we have the want for it, I feel. I don't want to jump into a financial trade-off, maybe. But, option one, I kind of rough figured 53,000 for a and a teacher. I don't know, number out there and it'd be by 80%, so it's that's a first time teacher. Putting this maybe on the right.
You want to know, I think Miss Bixler did this awesome teacher up here.
I don't want to spout bad numbers to the public.
This.
We need to hear that.
Oh, and here, everybody.
So, she estimated about, for a teacher with salary and benefits, 55,147, and for a para, 29,849.
One more time, Sarah.
Yep.
Sorry.
She figured them on step 2, but it could obviously be a different step. And then she figured PSRS and the peers, and then health insurance. So teacher salary and benefits comes out to 55,147. For a paraprofessional, salary and benefits comes out to 29,849.
Between the two, you're looking about 86,000.
I mean, I'm looking, and I'm just kind of figuring on option one. Lean that way, which I don't know the right option yet. Maybe even 80%. Look at 17.2. Might be on the ball to catch. Could be more if you can't fill 80%.
You gotta remember too, that number may only last 1 year.
I think too, if like, just a piece, if you are hesitant on a choice and you felt like at least if we could have early childhood special education, every piece of what they go to SLCs for is reimbursable right now. So if you're hesitant on should we start a preschool, maybe we'll just do this, or should we do one at all? They have a place that we're getting services and therapies from. So it's not like they're not being served and we need to get them to school to get them service. So
Wonder what the SLC bus route costs. That reimbursed too.
I think you just had I don't know if I got the bill sent today.
is it reimbursed?
Yes, that's what our ECSC 619 and 611 funds are. So the federal early childhood special education funds only cover transportation. we pay the other bill of actual SLC.
So we're paying special ed.
We have a bill that we send each month.
Yeah, I see it.
I'm not sure on the specific coding, but I think when Ms. Bixler and I talked, the ECSC federal funds, federal dollars are for transportation, the amount that's there. I'd have to look a little bit more specifically with her about that. Yep.
You can't offer all services. You'd have to bring in OTPT additional time.
And so I think that's where she talked about leaving, you know, not every student would be able to come here because of maybe they have more extensive needs and we weren't able to meet all their therapies. So I think it's, even if we just left a couple of 3-year-olds there just because they were younger, you're still going to run a route to special learning center.
Yeah, but that's reimbursable. But their time there is overpaid.
So
It's reimbursable. They're reimbursed no matter what.
Reimbursed.
Again, reimbursable means you pay it up front and you get it the next year. So like we are paying right now, but then what comes back to us is coming back in the following year.
I just think our community is gonna be in a need once Chrissy is out of the building. I mean, I know she's gonna house some of that in her building too, but there's still gonna be that huge need. For Chrissy.
It's been my experience in 2 districts that once you start one, the need, you get more and more students, you get a waiting list. You're able to fund it through, you're able to get the grants. I understand that our staff doesn't want to try to lead you down a path saying we absolutely will do this or that in terms of getting grants. But once you apply for them, they're pretty easy to get. I haven't really talked to anyone who's applied for it that hadn't gotten it.
How project was dropped years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
And
You
that
know
was
what
at-
I'm
at
talking
the
about.
ECS. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah, and it just grows and grows. But I understand this is a first step, and you're hesitant to take it.
Well, we're still dealing with COVID issues, COVID babies. So the additional education is going to be very important. Because of what they missed out on.
Does this concern, I know you've been working on the budget, all that, how does this concern?
This piece does not concern me. There may be some other pieces that do, but this one doesn't. I think it's manageable, even if where you aren't able to get the 100%. I think that 80% is manageable. I think what we're doing with staffing is we're just transferring. If we did option 2, yes, we would be hiring, but it's already in the budget. That piece is already in the budget. Because those people already work for us, we're just going to transfer 2 positions over to 100% reimbursable and then fill the 2 positions we're already paying for anyway.
So if we started with 1 for a year, the next year we couldn't do it, we're really not making too big a change other than number of students, right? We just open the door for more students. And possibly additional staff. That may be the option to go with the first year, would be option 1, and then reevaluate at the end to see where we're at. See whether or not we can maintain option 1 or move to option 2. Gives us at least a year to work on that. Find another couple staff members.
So that's another thing too.
Like if you're looking at option 1, you would just say 1 class. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't do, I mean, you wouldn't even have to necessarily do the early childhood special ed class because those students are still getting served and you're being reimbursed at a different location.
You could do 1 classroom versus 2, and
Instead
one
of labeling
classroom
it as
could
this or
be-
that.
You're saying on option 1.
Yeah.
Instead of saying it's the early childhood special ed
Would we
classroom.
have to have 2 classes with option 2?
No. Option 2 just means that now we're doing general education students,
Yeah.
not just the special ed. So we could do 2 classrooms Or you could do just one classroom and we leave SLC kiddos where they are, let that still marinate, and then you actually go a preschool with your general education population with all those different funding sources. That's all, I mean, that's out there too.
Which I think that's a
Which is where the
piece of
needs
that.
at from our community.
You're already servicing your
perspective.
special education students at SLC. So if you're leaning towards one classroom with less thought to think about like scheduling therapies and making sure our contracted people have enough time in their schedule and all those things, maybe you continue to leave your special education population at SLC and just do general population classroom, which would be the ones that can't get into the daycare because it's a waiting list or whatever. Or it's up to you guys. Lots of options.
Yeah, there's so many. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a matter of like necessarily like specific choice options. Like we have different avenues to explore this and do it. I think it really comes down to how much do you want to bite off for next year, and then financially.
That's the part that the biting off for next year because we don't know who's gonna be stepping into that role.
Right.
So that's the hard part for me personally. I mean, I definitely want the daycare. Wrong, you guys put in all the work. But that's the part that makes it hard to decide.
Completely understandable.
You interviewed candidates, right? For special ed or for directorship?
Yes, and there's another one that's returning the third week of March. We're not ready to bring any decision about special ed director to you at this meeting for sure. So that window is still open.
We would have maybe a better idea by April.
Hopefully you'd have a recommendation.
I would hope so. Is there any additional information you would need if you push it off until April to make a decision?
I think I can make a decision because the director, honestly, that's where I'm at. And I just don't want it to be all. Or two, you know, I don't want it to cost me. I don't know. I really don't need, I mean, I think makes me know I would prefer to go. I mean, I'd be in favor of doing, leaving the SLC alone and doing a general population. Compared to kindergarten. That easier.
Make a motion that we, after our closed session discussions tonight, I either have a special
Got a motion by Brant.
Where's the table for special?
Oh,
I guess, yeah, I guess.
Closed session. Sorry. Do you want me to back you?
I think it's. I like the idea.
I like the idea. I would.
Items farther down here that make it.
We have a need.
You wanna make a motion?
Well, I mean, I agree with what Brant's saying, but I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve the preschool information as provided based on our administrators and how they want to come together and which one we want to choose beyond. Because I know it's going to have, it may have to have a lot to do with the special ed director, which one we go with. So if we go ahead and approve it, then in April, maybe we'll have a better idea if we're doing one or two.
What if we don't get one?
That's an option too, that we don't have a special ed director.
So your special ed director, if we approve it, that'll be in closed session after. the open
Correct.
meeting, So you'd have to figure that out.
I'm still making my motion.
I'm all set.
What exactly is your motion?
I'm making a motion that we approve the preschool information as presented for the 26, 27 school year. Option will be decided concurrent after we decide on a special ed director or not.
Motion
So
by
does that
Kelly.
leave option 3 on the table? Or is that just option 1 or 2?
Yeah, I mean, option 3 could be there too.
So it could still be no preschool.
Could be.
So is that a motion, or do we just wait and say April will make a decision?
Well, I don't think there's anything gonna happen to that classroom. We're sitting here as a board right now, we understand the need, and we've kind of made it clear we're not gonna make it into a storage facility. Become a locker room, it's not gonna become a catch-all, sofa, site storage, anything like that.
Coolers, food.
Coolers, food would be okay.
No,
I'm still making my motion on preschool.
Said coolers.
Move forward with the preschool information.
For option 1 and 2.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm just saying for the preschool information as presented. Option 3 really isn't an option.
No, it's not even, we're not doing it right now.
That's a professional judgment call on the 7 people that will be sitting on this board come April 1st, or April 10th.
I think that's where I'm confused, because if we move to approve the preschool, then it seems like we've done that.
Well, if we
option 3 is-
don't approve it, you're gonna have 2 new people that are gonna be new to the preschool information that's being presented.
Have to go through it all again.
That's why I'm going ahead and making my motion to approve the preschool.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So it's either option 1 or 2, or some sort of combination of what, like Sarah, Dr. Hanson said, that it may be a mix and match there. 4 options, really just 1 or 2, but you're saying you're moving to.
I made a motion that we're just going to approve a preschool.
Okay,
We're gonna
gotcha.
start preschool.
Gotcha.
Option 1, 2, or 3, 4, 7.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, second by David. All in favor?
Second, David.
What's this, option 1 or 2?
Yeah.
Just start preschool. Start preschool.
That's what a motion is to vote on.
For the 2026.
I'm sorry, I didn't see the votes.
I didn't know if Craig was still discussing, so I stopped. Yeah, it's just. I mean, I'm down, yeah, I agree, we need it, but I also think. We need to hire a director, number 1. Number 2, I think it would be great if we had like a hard number for playground equipment. Or. PTO, we should talk about that.
We'll pay for some of it. Yeah, not for the whole entire thing.
Correct. You know.
And then there'll be fencing
It could
that
be
will need to go
startup
back
costs.
around there, because I'm sure that will
I'm sure we're
disappear.
not gonna take down this.
We have no idea. We have no
You
idea.
know, we
Just
just,
attached.
if it's gone, and you gotta put new up, right? I mean, you just, that's just my opinion.
Buy what's already there.
Correct.
Part of the lease, if it's a permanent fixture, you can't take it with you. Isn't that a standard lease agreement?
It is in the lease. It is in our
Yes.
lease. But anything that's
That'd be the
modified
same
to
as
the
they can't
building
take
is more permanent
Right.
structure, right? Has to stay where the driveway.
So honestly, like, if we decided, we make this motion and we approve doing decided to go with a preschool with general population.
Right. You're just adding more students to the building.
Yes, so that is an option.
Which in turn is more
If we don't
ADA.
get these spenders, so that would.
Right.
Probably fall under Ashley, and then that's what he said. You might have to move 5th, 6th up to middle school. 5th, 6th is already middle school.
6 is already middle school.
That's discussions. That's just.
Preschool's gonna bring us ADA in, no matter what.
You claim ADA for students that would fall under free and reduced lunch count. That's why you would also have the tuition-based piece or the grant piece to cover tuition for those students.
Is that clarified for you?
She's gonna.
That's why,
That's why we may have to reconsider.
I mean, that's why I'm gonna vote no on this, just because I feel like it's too much your transition.
We taking a vote?
We've taken a motion, we're at the point of a vote.
Okay.
So we did a motion and second. So we vote. All in favor?
Yeah, let's do this.
Option 1 or 2.
Or combination.
Yes, preschool? No, preschool.
For next year.
For next year.
Yeah, you're voting for yes, a preschool. for next year.
627.
To start in August.
So I guess if, like, just to be clear, if you say yes to a preschool, do Sarah and I have that autonomy to work with Dr. Wolf as far as what that preschool entails, whether we're looking at early childhood special education, are we looking at general ed students?
Yes.
We're making the decision on what meets our needs. But you're saying that you're voting on, I would like to see a preschool in our district in some capacity.
Nathan, do you have anything?
Just the finances is the only thing that worries me, and then who's gonna oversee it all?
We didn't get a vote, we have to vote. We got a motion and a second, so we got to vote. Was a vote for preschool next year.
Just for my opinion, like what it's worth, I am not a risk taker. So this really scares me making decisions, especially when financial pieces are in like consideration. I'm not afraid of the hard work that goes into making it work, and I think it's a need of the community. But I'm also not a risk taker, so I'm a slow stepper in situations where if you don't feel comfortable making a decision this year, you can revisit this again next year. It isn't like if you don't do it now, you're never going to have one. So it's up to you guys what you want to do. I don't mind doing the work that goes into it, but I just want you to have all the information.
All right, so we have a motion by Kelly, second by David. All in favor? Yes. Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for accommodating us.
I appreciate it. You were in Sedalia, I see?
Yes, we were.
Okay. All right. So
Where they have all the money and they're spending it, right?
They have a little more money.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're gonna talk about some options or potential lease purchase for turf, those sort of things. Appreciate you guys.
With me is Connor Wood. He is one of our analysts. And between the two of us.
This like kind of in this.
Okay.
area, yeah.
Is
So
this
just-
okay where I am?
It's fine. Yes.
Cool.
Just letting you know.
So he's passing out a book. I'm gonna go through a couple of the things, but for the most part with, can I set this on top of it? Okay, I don't wanna mess anything up, so let's. Nope, paper is my friend. I'm a tree killer from that perspective. So the two handouts in the front are what we're gonna focus on once I go through one of the options within the book. Essentially, the other options follow the same path, it's just the amount is different and the repayment period is different. So in conversations that I've had with Dr. Wolf, very good to see you again, she had shared with me the estimates for turf. So I took the perspective of looking at financing sizes that would accommodate both of the options that were presented from, it was an MMTH construction. Option 1 and option 2. I think option 1 was 987,000, option 2 about 864. So from those perspectives, doing financings that would produce enough funds up front for both of those. There is one other option if the district were to input a portion of cash to reduce the size of the financing. So with that said, in the book itself, a couple of intro pages, as well as then looking at how would each of these be repaid for. So once I go through, one of these in detail and then just look at some of the compare contrast within the executive summary, there's also a timeline. I'm going to have Connor go through that. Basically, if the district said move forward today, what would happen? just as a, give you the information so you can make an informed decision. Seems kind of like what you were talking about before on the preschool. So with that said, on page 6, I looked at, actually, I'm going to skip that one. Let's go to page, apologize. Let's go to page 13. Looking at the full amount. So this option, the size of the financing builds in the cost of issuance to leave upfront funds that would accommodate option 1 from MMTH Construction. So $1,040,000 financing after cost of issuance would cover just over $1 million. I do leave a little cushion because in case there is while you're at it, or perhaps a change order, there is something that then you wouldn't have to use reserves for. You're able to use a little more of what's left over in the construction fund. So if you said, yes, let's move forward with this option for a 7-year repayment, I have principal beginning in 2027, going out to 2033. So I did a 7 and a 10-year repayment plan for each of these options. Interest rates are conservative based upon the current market. So once again, like I said, it's moving forward right now. Obviously, the interest rates are subject to change, especially if you were to delay or postpone, or if some time goes by. The idea being that the fiscal total, that your annual payments would be about level from the very beginning. So right around that $170,000 mark. On page 14, to illustrate, well, where does the $1,040,000 come and how does it play out? So you can see we issue $1,040,000 of certificates. Under uses of funds, you have those cost of issuance on a not to exceed basis. And this is assuming that LJ Hart and Company is the underwriter. So what the district had decided last summer after the RFP and choosing us as the underwriter, taking that approach that these certificates would be sold with a negotiated financing sale method. After those costs of issuance, of which all of them are one-time fees, except for that registrar paying agent fee. That is the only one that is an ongoing fee. So it's an initial setup, and then for as long as the certificates are outstanding, it'd be about $1,800 each year thereafter. That's the only fee that you have that's ongoing, leaving just over $1 million to go to the construction fund. With that option being just under $1 million, obviously it gives just a small amount of buffer. The cash flows themselves. So with a lease financing, unlike a bond issue, a lease financing, it doesn't require voter approval unless you need to go to the voters in order to secure a new revenue source. So if you're paying with existing funds, instead of having to go to the voters like with a bond issue, you have a hearing. So you allow patrons, such as yourselves, to come and ask questions, express concerns. It is a board decision if you are using existing funds. If you needed to go to the voters, it'd be similar to what you did last April with the levy election. It is just a simple majority as opposed to 4/7 or 2/3. So in this case, of the 2 cash flow options, I have one that will assume an operating levy increase, so a capital projects levy, or if instead of using a capital projects levy, you would use classroom trust funds and your 7% transfer that you're able to move from Fund 1 into Fund 4. So on page 15, with the first option, the $1,040,000, I'm assuming that 30 cents of your current operating levy would be dedicated to debt or dedicated to your capital projects. So the way in which you do that is during the tax rate hearing, you would assign 30 cents into Fund 4. You can move that in between Fund 1, 2, and 4, as long as you have at least $275 within Fund 1 and 2 combined. So anything over and above that, you have some discretion on how you were to move it. So that's one way. 30 cents would cover that amount over a 7-year period. If instead you said, nope, let's just use existing funds, you would need to move over between classroom trust funds and your 7% transfer, right around that, $170,000, $172,000 per year for each of those years. For fiscal year 24-25, the district received about $357,000 of classroom trust funds, and your 7% transfer totaled about $266,000. That was available. So it's the greater of whatever the calculation is, 7% times your weighted ADA, times the state adequacy target, or $162,326, of which the 266 is larger, so that's why it's that amount. So between the two of those, you do have that, but it's just one or the other, or going to the voters, obviously, if you didn't want to use existing funds. So with that said, are there any questions on just this one option? Before I just.
Is there any early payoff fees?
Ah, good question. Wonderful. So similar to a bond issue, we would also put a short call feature on this. If you went with a financing that's 7 years, typically we have a 5-year call feature. With the 7-year financing, I would look to put about a 3 or a 4-year call feature on it. Therefore, you would be locked into the interest rates for the 3 or 4-year time period. After that point, you can make prepayments, refinance, or pay the entire thing off at no penalty. If you wanted to do it ahead of time, and there have been instances, so I don't want to say that it's not impossible, if we know who the investors are, especially if there are local banks involved, and you wanted to pay off let's say the entire thing or some of the earlier maturities that otherwise were non-callable. There have been instances where we can make a phone call, we have a conversation. It can be a tender offer. If the investor agrees to it, sure, you can pay it off. But if it's going to more of a regional or national party, I would say the likelihood is going to be a lot less. But yes, it can be done. It's just sometimes asking the question and asking if you can. But as far as just a blanket statement, I would say at that 3 or 4 year mark, absolutely you can. For a 10-year financing, that I would look to be probably more of a 4 or a 5-year call feature. So at the 4 or 5 year mark, you could make prepayments or refinance at no penalty. Great question. Okay, I'm just going to work off this executive summary. So I was on Schedule 3. If instead you wanted to make this a 10-year financing, Schedule 4, cost of issuance stay the same. Your average annual payment, instead of that $170,000 mark, now it's about $126,000, second, third to last column. Instead of having a 30-cent levy, it's a 22-cent levy. If you went with option 2, that cost $864,000 for MMTH. With Schedule 5 and Schedule 6, I have a $910,000 financing after taking out the cost of issuance, which are also on the same rateable schedule as the Schedule 3 and Schedule 4 for $1,040,000, leaving about $878,000. So just a slight cushion. 7-year repayment is a 27-cent levy, or once again, classroom trust fund, 7% transfer. 10 years is about a 20-cent levy. Average payments ranging from $150,000 or $110,000. So this is just to give you what would it cost over this time period and how do we move forward. If you had some cash you wanted to put up front, let's say $300,000, that's where Schedules 1 and 2 come in off of that option 1. Give you, $701,000 because you're inputting about $300 in order for the project itself, for the turf, 21-cent levy or a 15-cent levy. So it's just, it gives you the ability to see how much do we need to put in from our own cash, as well as what levy is needed or what money would we need to take to put into Fund 4 in order to afford this if you didn't go and ask the voters for an operating levy increase, which you've already done that. And at this point, if you did move forward, August would be your next election. Filing deadline for that is the end of May. With primaries and midterms, I can't say I would always advise that, but obviously it's your decision. Are there any questions on the numbers? I'll have Connor just go through the timeline on if you said, let's move forward, what happens?
Yes.
Okay, so following along on this timeline sheet that was in the packet as well, obviously you have already reviewed turf/grass construction options and you have those bids from MMTH Sports. Today you're reviewing the financing options and ideas to fund. And if the board decided to move forward today, the below steps are the following ones. This is also assuming a May/June, when the project would start to take place. If you wanted it to be later, everything would be stepped back accordingly. So the first step is to select the option that you want, including the project and then the financing terms as well. And then after that, LJ Hart and Company will help you. We'll build the preliminary official statement, and then also a hearing notice will be posted that allows the public that you will be approving this lease in the next board meeting, which will be the April one. Once we have the preliminary official statement built, we will go ahead and market the certificates. We also prioritize the local institutions in the area, so they will have priority over anyone else who wants to purchase them. We like to keep local involvement the best that we can. And then the April blank 2026 meeting is where you will approve the resolution for the sale of the certificates. And then we can set a closing date that can be very flexible. But for example purposes, late April, early May is where the proceeds from the financing will be available to the district. Following that, you will receive the transcript of all the legal documents and all the final terms. And then, like I said, May/June groundbreaking for the project, which is all very flexible.
Any questions? Clarifications?
Thank you, Courtney, that was very.
Gosh,
clear.
I must have done such a great job.
I don't know about anybody else, but I understood.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, if there are questions that come up either during discussions, please don't hesitate to either have Dr. Wolf reach out or reach out to answer them. All right.
On the lease purchase.
Yes.
On the timeline, so we get funds in May, are we subject to have to put that out on bids? Since we already have a mammoth, do we have to put that out on bids in that timeline still?
As far as like selecting them, or what do you,
Our obligation to put it out on bids. You know what I'm trying to say?
oh, bid out the project.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah, I
Duke
think,
had gotten other quotes, had you not, from other companies?
I did, and you have to be careful because
They can
now
screw.
you have public quotes that are already going out to people.
I'm sorry.
Did you
Oh,
see-
that wasn't me.
Oh, no, I'm saying that you have two complete quotes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
So
that's good.
now those are already open quotes. If you put it out to other people, competition and still bids and go on.
Right.
Still got the things out bid.
That's what I'm questioning, that's what I'm not understanding.
When we had that special session last year, we looked at all those options. Had to make sure we follow the right process.
So that's what I'm worried about, the timeline.
Oh,
It has to be pushed back.
sure, that's okay.
My question.
It's okay from their point of view, I don't know if it's okay from getting the work point of view. Financially, they can work with, they can be flexible within the time.
The biggest timeline is when you say go, because this is a financing that's right around that $1 million or less than $1 million, we're not gonna have to go to the rating agency, which cuts out about 2 to 3 weeks. The biggest constraint is going to be publishing the hearing notice. So there are guidelines on the publishing requirements. Really, it's like you need a 2 week from whenever your board meeting is going to be to have the hearing. But from the time that you tell us go, it's essentially 4 weeks, a month that we can have proceeds ready for you to spend money and write checks. But for us, we don't want to do a financing until you have selected a bid, because there's no point in delivering proceeds and it not match what you need or close to it.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Something more decided before with our ducks in a row.
It's a good question. Absolutely. All right. Thank you all very much, especially for accommodating us coming from Sedalia. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're a little closer to home than you were in today.
Indeed.
So we've heard about the lease purchase information. We do have an update. Should we move from D to C and kind of talk about that too?
I think, yes.
That would probably be
Now is the
appropriate.
perfect time.
Yeah,
to move
let's
to
go
C.
ahead and do that. I'm not sure if you're gonna do that or. if
That's,
Nathan's gonna do it.
Nathan. Thank you.
Maybe these couple things with you. Okay, bye, Laura.
All right, that's good. So Nathan, got some bids about refurbishing and reseating, and so Nathan can,
Yeah, so I have those attachments. You can kind of see your options from there. It ranges from sodding and irrigating the upper end to sodding portions of the game field to reseeding and fixing what we have currently on the football field. You see the prices there. They also come with some excavation fees for get the practice field in line. So that was just another option to go with. If we just chose not to go the turf route, you can go with fixing everything. Basically, what you're looking like. If you fixed everything, you can go for one payment. That's not a payment by far. So it's, I mean, turf ain't your only option. Just want to make sure that the grass. You had options to go with. You wanted to go look at a grass renovation type thing too. It's fixing the drainages on the football field. It's fixing you can turf down the middle from the numbers out the entire football field. The options are kind of laid out there for you in that presentations of attachments there. Like I said, you can put sprinkler systems on the upper end, have that ready to go by 1st of July. Then you can also have the game field fixed as well. Maintenance, yearly maintenance cost, he projected about $9,000, I think, in that. You should have a maintenance bid as well, don't you? Yeah. Sorry about this. We were just talking about yearly cost of a grass field. Like I said, there's always going to be more dirt brought in a little bit in places. There's always going to be fertilizer, grass, water, grass seed and things. So that's your maintenance you're looking at. On top of that's a yearly about $9,000 commitment. At the minimum, if you're asking my opinion, what should you do if you're going to go the grass route? Do the upper practice field, get that in line, put irrigation on it, sod it. Then you're going to come down, fix the drainages, sod. I don't think you need to do sideline to sideline, but numbers to numbers would be good. Hash to hash, you could probably make work and fix any kind of the irrigation system. He noticed he looked out there and he saw a couple of the sprinkler heads are popped up. They needs to be done appropriately. That'll be fixed whenever he puts the new sod down. So.
I know zero about turf. You should see my grass in the house. In case there's somebody who's still bad. But what's the timing of when all this would happen?
He said he wants to basically be on it immediately. He's getting ready to start a big project. He's doing the turf projects going on over at the at MU for the new soccer and everything else. So he said if we wanted to get in with this guy, he said he needs to be on it immediately, so we can get in before he has to go over there. Because once he gets over there, he basically said, it won't be done in time.
are you talking about the
March turf?
Carpenter?
No,
Berkeley?
Carpenter I think is pretty. He can fit us in. He'd have to go first, but then
Right.
Turf. Yeah,
Okay.
he said he needs to be on it immediately in order to get the upper field, because I'm certain he's going to go up do the practice field first, get it sodded in and the irrigation down, the drainage all done. Then he'll come down to work on the game field. He said he'd bring 2 crews and I kind of work on it simultaneously. So when they go to actually laying turf, keep saying turf. Sod. When he keeps laying sod, it's gonna be sodded out in a couple days.
And he could coordinate, or is he the same person as the carpenter?
No, I actually talked to them the other day and they just wanted to know when it was gonna be approved or voted on or discussed. I said tonight. I think they're in the same. I told them, if we do this route, we need kind of a commitment to you to come on and get this done immediately, because he's going to not only be working on drainage, bringing the slope down, he's also going to be roughing up the ground and getting a good base for the sod to go down as well. And he said it's a small enough job that he could get his work done. I contacted a lot of excavation companies, but getting one this time of year is next to impossible. There was the only one that could kind of give me a bid.
So, I think, yeah, obviously we got couple big options in front of us. We've got, I guess we'll use the word grass and turf
Yeah,
differently so that we don't get confused, but, we have the lease purchase option for turf. We've seen the cost for that. And then now we have an option to look at refurbishing essentially with grass on both. Which, I mean, something's gotta be done, right? I mean, that, you have to do something here. We've talked about openly here in the last several months. Kind of open it up for discussion on the board on what their thoughts are.
I also think it's important that the community is aware that these are different funds than preschool funds, because these would be fund for capital improvements. It's not like the same funds that we would be using to pay a salary of teachers and stuff like that. I just wanted to throw that out there so everyone is aware, people that are asking. I'm still of my personal opinion is if we do a lease purchase, it's telling the voters, we can lease purchase, we don't need your approval. And then we're gonna have a really hard time getting a bond issue passed.
What else? Any thoughts here?
Something needs to be done. I mean, we've got to just decide so we can get something taken care of. Get it.
I did some numbers on, so bringing in the dirt, all that. New practice field with sod and irrigation, and then just seeding the game field, we're at $92,100. That also includes fixing the drain height on those holes that are in the side of the field. So it's taking pieces of it, but it wouldn't be adding any sod to the game field. Just be leveling and reseeding. We have a little bit longer on the game field to wait than we do the practice field. We couldn't seed the practice field because it wouldn't take in time. That's why it needs to be sodded.
That's what he told me.
That's why I was asking him.
Yeah.
Like, could we just seed the practice field too? But then we would have a lot of immature grass. But if we're bringing in and top dressing the game field, and then they're drilling and seeding back to backfill, to get all those holes out of there and everything, get a good quality playing surface. And then that would give us bias. Basically, it'd be less than one payment of the lease purchase to buy us time to get toward the bond initiative to be able to then maybe look at replacing that. And you would only be sinking $11,000 into the game field. To get it playable and safer. Because on the lease purchase, if we go through and do that, we also have a unknown cost of, we have to replace the track because we have to push the sidelines out. That's where I think if we drop 11,000 into the game field, get it playable, get a quality practice field to where they don't have to use the game field all the time, then we're looking at a lot better ballpark for being able to get into. It wouldn't be a waste. It'd be $11,000 we'd be spending on the game field if we went turf in a year or two, whenever the voters decided.
Who else? Personally, I'll speak up. I share some concerns with running this as a lease purchase since we put it in front of the voters and didn't get their approval. And I think that should this be something the board wants, personally, I think that would be the appropriate act, is to seek that through the bonding process. But that's my opinion on that. And for the same reason, I am concerned about, I'm concerned about finances, obviously. The lease purchase piece of that is a little bit scary to me.
Do you think we should sod the football field or just seed it, do what we can for now, or?
He recommended, he said he could probably make it work with seeding, but he would recommend sodding to the numbers. As much kill and trample down and stuff is in the middle of that field. I know that comes with quite a bit more of a cost, but he said even if you go by there today, it looks better, but when you get out on it, there's a lot of dead loss on it. But I mean, he said it could be done, but he said if you want me to put my name behind it and give you more of a guarantee, the sod would be definitely the way to go. I mean, you never know what kind of growing season you're going to have. Just that alone is a question mark. So let's say he does a perfect job, and then we get terrible weather for the next couple months. I know it's irrigated and everything else, but yeah. So I mean, if you sod numbers to numbers, it takes a lot of the question marks out of it. And if the grass from the numbers to the sideline is pretty good. Now he said there's work to be done. Where you can tell where the people skidded and scuffed up the ground. There's going to be work done to smooth it all out. But he said to give you a more precise answer on yes, if it could be good, you at least probably need to do the sod numbers to numbers to the middle. Yep. That brings you up another 30 grand, roughly.
Oh yeah, cause you can take that 75.
Take that off.
Take
Yeah.
that top one off?
Yeah.
Okay, alright.
Yeah, because there'll be a little bit of that work done around the outside, but it won't be as extensive. You know what I mean? There's still going to be work done from numbers to sideline. And there's going to be a little bit of work done around the drainage basins.
I mean, so really, your options for turf, right, are either a lease purchase, we can move on that. That's it. That's your option. Or wait. I mean, in that, if you wait, then you still have to do something with this for the next school year. So you're going to be pouring money into the grass piece of that, regardless if you look at it as I'm putting it in place in order to as a solution, if that makes sense, rather than a Band-Aid. If you look at it as a Band-Aid, then I think it is I think that's where the question of what you would do from a cost perspective would come into conversation. I hate to you can't put kids on there. It's dangerous.
Something's gotta be done.
And you can't use the upper field at the rate it is right now. Little youth kids can, but even then, it's concrete by the end of the year. I mean, it's flat concrete.
We've got to do something with.
What's that?
It's concrete in August.
Yeah, it's because you start off with a little bit of weeds at the beginning of the year, but after a month of practice, it's all burnt off. You have dirt, astroturf basically out there.
Yeah, the kids aren't bleeding from hard tackles. It's from the ground.
Yeah. And
It's true.
if they came in and did the work, this would basically put you from where our storage bins are. If you're standing facing to the north, take you down to the north of that tree line where it juts out from the Morlock property. And I didn't go all the way to the fence because there's still gonna have to be some kids parking up there and stuff. And I'm not gonna put in extra money if you're gonna drive on it. So basically they get you triple the size of the game, of the practice field you're gonna have now. And little kids can still practice everywhere.
Check my numbers against me. So what I've got is, I've got 70,000 for the practice field to get it done.
Okay.
And then we're looking at 70,000 from sideline to sideline.
No, I don't think you need to do sideline to sideline. I think you can do numbers.
Well, I'm just saying worst case scenario.
Okay.
And then 3,500 to raise the catch basins.
That absolutely is.
Correct. So that's 143.5 plus a number of 10,000 per year for maintenance. Say in a 10-year span, if we're comparing apples to apples of turf to grass, that's $100,000. So we're looking at 243.5 in the cost of, grass to turf. No, $1 million to 243.5 is what I'm understanding.
$1 million plus interest.
Correct.
If you look at your payment schedules.
It's about 200,000 on average interest on all the plans. So you're at 1.2. Now, if you go,
Plus, you're gonna have to kick back an extra 50 or 60 grand for an eventual turf replacement. Unless you're gonna at least purchase that at the next time.
And that's if we can get the sod to stay 10 years. I was trying to do a comparison for numbers.
if you go numbers to numbers on sod, or I guess, is it numbers or between the hashes?
My quote was,
Well, the other one is 128, 100. If you didn't do the full field.
I went full field. I was considering like if we went all out.
This does.
So let's approach it. Let's do it this way. Does anybody feel strongly about moving forward with lease purchase? Well, I guess I would seek a motion to approve one of the options for lease purchase. There's not going to be one. Shake your head no, so we don't spend a bunch of time wasted on an option there. Motion. Okay, so I don't think we would have 4 votes there. So for the grass option, that sounds like we need to do the next best thing and try to get that fixed, right? And I think that we're gonna have to bid that out. So I guess we'll need to get that together and get it.
I can take the scope.
Dumb question. But Coach Duke already had a bid for the turf or for the grass to be done, and this is a second.
You gotta put a RFQ out there.
I didn't know. I'm
RFP.
just questioning.
You gotta have an RFP so everybody has a fair shake at getting in.
Yeah.
Just wanna make sure we're careful with that, so.
That's what I was double checking on this.
So that probably, if we can maybe get that done quickly. we'll move
I can
forward.
create an RFP tomorrow. I can take the scope that has been lined out, turn that into an RFP. We can advertise it in the paper. We can send it out to people as well.
I'd have to
And
look
we
up
can
what our
publish it.
board policy states. On length that we have to have it published
Oh.
for and all that. I can't remember either. I just,
Sometimes you have to publish it something twice. Sometimes it depends on the scope.
I've seen them done so many different ways. Some
Right.
people just put a little deal on their website.
Right.
Click here for active bids. Like Holden School District does that. Here's all of our open bids. That's where you go. There's, some people do the paper route. Online, there's services out there. Bonfire and others. But I think whatever we can do, and we have a couple prices already. I know we can't use them, but they can rebid and do the shortest time frame turnaround possible so that we can get to work on getting these people in to move dirt.
I do have a question real quick, and this is just for, maybe Craig, you would know better, but do we have to consider these together? Like, could we look at the practice field separate from the main field? Because we have separate bids, that's why I'm asking.
Right.
I was just thinking about timing.
Then you can get started on the practice field immediately. I don't know if you can bust it into different jobs, since it's all one person, I don't know, maybe it's up for lawyer to ask.
I think you would want the same person doing it.
No, I think you do too, but I'm just saying if we could do the practice field at 60, whatever it was, 69, or then you did the game field at another 60. If
Then it falls under the threshold.
right, yeah. That's what I'm asking. If you can't bust it into two, then you just do the quickest turnaround possible and have a special session and get it going.
You can't piecemeal that. I mean, like even it could even be yourself, Culpepper, all of us guys in this room can't even go over and donate your time.
I just didn't know since it would be two different pieces of work, really, two different jobs.
You can't piecemeal it out.
Yeah, you may be right, I have no idea. That's what you'd want to definitely check on that, but, then we just get the RFP down.
So my other decision
I will find out what our legal time frame is.
Yeah.
Create an RFP. I'll send all that out to you guys tomorrow.
We need to get together for a special session and get that done, I think. That way we can kind of avoid the timing problem. Okay, that will get us into new business, so we've got, set the board paid insurance rate.
Yes, as you know, our premiums went up 7.7%. In the past years, the board has paid insurance has covered the first 3 plans. I'm recommending that again, we cover the first 3 plans. Last year, the board was paying $566 per premium. This year, I'm recommending that we pay $594 per premium. That will cover the first 3 plans just as you have done in the past. That will cost the board an additional $18,480.
Per year. Right.
Unless insurance goes down.
Well, good luck. You could tell us that, couldn't you?
That's why I smiled when I said that. All right. Any questions, or do we have a motion for this?
I'll make a motion that we take, Harriet's proposal of increasing the insurance to $594 per month.
Second.
Second by Craig. All in favor? So 7-0. So next we have a discussion approval of salary schedule.
Yes, our current salary schedule is not financially sustainable for the future. Primarily in 27, 28, there is now a law that says school districts are going to have to increase their base according to the same percentage of the consumer price index. The average has been 3%. For us, that would mean that starting in 27, 28, we would have to add $1,200 to our base, which is now $40,000. I have adjusted our salary schedule to make it more financially sustainable. Here are the things that I have done to do that, to try to create a better prospect for us financially in the future. I've closed the 25, 26 master's schedule, closed the 25, 26 differentiated schedule. That's the schedule that involved dual credit and AP, etc. And I've closed the 25, 26 specialist schedule. We have 29 employees on those schedules. They will stay on those schedules. No new movement or new hire will go on those schedules. So those schedules are now closed with the people that are on them. I've proposed,
Just explain what closing, I'm sorry.
it's the same as grandfather. It's
That's
just
what
that I wanted to make it patently clear that that means no placement, no movement, no nothing on those three columns from here forward.
For anyone hired in,
Correct.
not for the people that are already on it.
There are people on it, they are staying on it.
That's
Okay, the BS starts at 40. At step 25, the BS column will close. Typically, school districts close their BS schedule at 10 years because employees are expected to get further education in order to move over a column. Because of some placement of our employees, I was only able to close that at year 25. The movement between the BS column and the MS column, I am proposing that become 2,500. As we have to add to the base, starting in 27, 28, I would leave in writing some thoughts about you would then have to decrease that movement to 2,000. Each year that you add a huge amount to your bachelor's, you're going to have to start decreasing what happens between the lanes in order to continue to afford what you're doing. So between BS and MS, I've made that 2,500. Between MS and specialists, I've made that 2,500. We would like to change the steps down, the increments. Again, because of placement already in those columns, we're limited to where we can change those amounts. So on the BS column, we would change the increment to $300 starting at step 23. On the MS column, we would change the increment to $300 starting at step 12. On the specialist, we would change the increment to $300 starting at step 15. What this means is that no one will make less than they made this year. Everyone will get some sort of increase. The increase that, as if they looked at this past schedule they would get the increase they thought they would be getting for this year. Next year, it will change for those people who are on those steps. So you're giving everybody what their expectation would be for 26, 27, starting in 27, 28. This would reflect a different expectation. Questions?
I don't think.
I think it's something we have to do to be financially stable for years to come. It's still leaving annual raises in there. It's not like we're saying, hey, you're not gonna get anything on your steps.
We're planning for the future so that people can continually to be fairly compensated, but it's financially and fiscally responsible for the taxpayers' dollars.
Don't have any questions about this. Motion on this to approve.
I make a motion to approve the salary schedule as presented.
Second.
Second by Kelly, all in favor? 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay, that gets us to
Oh, sorry. I'll still concentrate. I make a motion moves to an executive session following 610.021 for 3 and 13, including the Board of Education, Ms. Harriet, and Jason Culpepper, and Ms. Ashley Pettigrew.
Nathan.
Oh, and Nathan, sorry. Stewart.
We got a motion by Derek, second by Amanda, Greg.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Brian,
Yep.
and I'm a yes. Thank you all.